Good morning all. I think we can get started now. So welcome to the Introduction to Application Hosting webinar. Today I am Imran Malik. I am the Microsoft Cloud Development Manager at West Coast. So I work in conjunction with Grey Matter for all hosting opportunities around Microsoft technologies. So today's agenda, I'm not going to bore you to death, so it's not going to be death by PowerPoint, I hope. We're going to talk about, firstly, just a few stats about the current market and the trends, and then we're going to go into some of the benefits and what is application hosting. We'll also cover the benefits of Microsoft technologies wrapped around that and software as a service, and we'll go into what is SPLA, some of the program benefits, and a quick introduction into product licensing and some SaaS scenarios. So the last 4 points are really going to be key for you partners who don't know what SPLA licensing is and how it works and how it can actually benefit you as a company to increase your revenue stream. So that's pretty much the agenda today. Feel free to ask any questions as we go along. Just type in the message box. If there's something that's going to come up later in the presentation, I will let you know. If it's something that we can take offline, then I'll let you know as well. So feel free to ask away. If you didn't ask anything, I'd probably be a little bit worried. So just carry on as usual. So in terms of the market, so what we've done here, we've taken 3 interesting statistics, and I've taken them from Forbes' Cloud Forecast. And honestly, don't take any of these to gospel, because as you will know, if anyone's ever looked at stats, every 3 to 6 months they change up and down. So I took these ones that I thought they were probably the most relevant ones to your organization. So the first one we look at is the global SaaS market. So they predicted it was going to grow from around $49 billion in 2015 to $68 billion in 2018. So that's absolutely massive opportunity for you guys out there as well, because that's around about just over 8% growth within 3 years as well in terms of global software as a service. But I think the other two are quite interesting as well in terms of infrastructure as a service. The hardware, the Azure, AWS, where you can actually license that, host those applications. That's actually growing from around about 32.8%, and that's basically around about 16.5 billion this year. So that is fundamentally growing as well. So in terms of licensing the software, what are you going to license on and offer that as a service as well? So those two are quite crucial in terms of some of the market trends that are happening at the moment. As you can see, they're increasing rapidly, and the whole on-prem and legacy-based systems are kind of going to fade out, and hosting and infrastructure and everything is going to be delivered on a recurring revenue stream is moving forward. I think the last statistic there was probably the most interesting one for me, and I didn't realize, but basically by 2019, they predict that all cloud applications, 90% of cloud applications will account for worldwide mobile data traffic as well. So that is absolutely massive as well. So I think that was around about 81% last year, going up to 90% this year, and that's worldwide data traffic. So if you look at the end users bringing in tablets, mobile devices, how many devices you actually have yourself. So mobility piece is huge at the moment. So trying to fit into adjust to those trends and having your application hosted and looking at all the data on there as well. So that's going to be fundamental. I think if I remember correctly, there was a statistic I saw a few months ago that 64% of small businesses are already using cloud-based apps, and with an average, I think, adopting around about 3 applications. So there's a little one there for you as well to see how the market's going as well. So that's all I want to cover on some of the market trends. Just to recap on that, everything's going up and spend's going up. So falling with the times and try and make as much revenue from that as possible. So I want to talk about application hosting. Forgive me if you already are hosting an app and you pretty much know what this is, but I just want to cover just some of the basics. If you've not hosted before, if you're just delivering an application via on-prem. So as we can see, it's an on-demand software as a service. This pretty much, in a nutshell, enables a user to be able to use an application without actually installing it onto their infrastructure as you would do with traditional applications. So they can access it on any device. Through a internet connection. when hosting, the software or the hardware, this kind of tends to be the hoster's responsibility instead of the end user. So there's hardly any maintenance for them as well. They pretty much just consume that service, where you guys, provide the application, host it for them, and then manage it, and then support them on that as well. And it's going to be more cost effective as well if you think about it, because you're not going to commit to having that capex versus opex spend. You're not going to commit to that full out payment. You're just going to pay for what you use, or in terms of basically a pay-as-you-go model. So there's no need to fully licensing everything for 2 years when you can just license it on a per user per month or monthly basis as well. So in terms of affordability, it's going to be much more cost effective in that sense. From an end user's perspective, I'd say probably there's little risk as well, because let's say if you had an application and you didn't really work out and you've already forked out a large amount for a whole solution, in terms of application hosting, they can just dip their toe in the water to see if the actual application works for them. After 3 to 4 months or even 6 months, depending on how much you guys want to charge them to use it or time into, they can actually test it, and if it didn't work out, they can actually stop using it as well. So they haven't actually forked out a large amount of revenue to build something that didn't work in the end. So also in terms of accessing the application, as I said before, every application is going to be hosted on infrastructure, whether it's on their site or the third-party data center or your own infrastructure. It can pretty much be accessed over an internet-based connection, so it's a lot more easier for end users to access your applications. And I think the last 2 points in terms of integration and support are quite key as well, because you may have a few hosted applications that basically they're now tuned away. What I'm trying to say is, you can actually now host these applications on multiple devices. So you can have them on Windows, PCs, you can have them on your phones, you can have them on your tablets as well. So you can integrate them across different versions as well. So it's a lot more streamlined in that aspect, as you would do if you just had an application hosted off an infrastructure and directly delivered to that end customer. And also, last one, the support is fundamental as well. So in terms of just selling an application and letting them use it, what about the managed services part of it as well, the ongoing support that you can offer to your end customer as well, and that's another recurring revenue stream that you can bring upon. So that's pretty much just a quick nutshell into what application hosting is, and why some of the benefits cover that off as well. So if you have any questions on that, feel free to ping away. Then if not, I'll just move on to the next slide. So we talk about so we talk about why Microsoft. So if you are familiar with Microsoft technologies, then you can understand, they're a huge vendor on its own as well. But in terms of the ISV ecosystem that they have one of the largest ones within the market as well, and there's absolutely huge demand for their apps as well. So surely I'll have to mention Office 365 overall, CRM Online as well. So including also Skype for Business, which was formerly Lync and Exchange and SharePoint and SQL, and all these applications are fundamental to their everyday use for every business as well. So there's absolutely massive demand for them, and fair enough, they do have probably the largest ISV ecosystem in the UK, well, worldwide, I'd have to say. In terms of the management, if you've ever used System Center, it's a beast on its own, but it's such a great tool to use to supporting application health monitoring. It's a management tool as well, so it's really good to actually scale up applications on demand that have high availability as well. So we'll talk about System Center in the next couple of slides, just a bit more in detail if you're unfamiliar with that. If you haven't used it, then I highly recommend moving on to that and having a look into System Center into a bit more depth as well. If you ever use Windows Azure, you can understand that Microsoft have this platform that's optimized even to build web applications and APIs more quickly. So this is become more say agile with integration at the moment. And I know with the end of Windows Server 2003, there's a lot of issues where a customer had a bespoke application based on Windows Server 2003, and they wanted to move it into Windows Server 2012 environment. How could you do that? Put it into Azure, test the app to see if it'll work. I think there was a few application testers out there as well. I think it was Cloudberry or AppSense that could actually go and then help you tweak that application for a 2012 environment, and you can either leave it in Azure or move it back onto an updated on-prem environment as well. So it's completely optimized across the board as well. It can help you with your applications. Hybrid as another one, which is quite useful in terms of looking at customers' existing on-prem infrastructures before, and then having a cloud-based solution and having your app integrated into that as well. So it's really useful in terms of common identity, development, virtualization, and management, and also having database tools across clouds will be key as well. So hybrid is absolutely massive at the moment because nobody wants to go fully cloud, but if you have the opportunity to have a mixed bag, keep your on-prem, sweat the assets out, and also have a cloud environment, there's nothing wrong with that as well. I will talk about also the profit with different services as well. I'm always saying to my customers, don't just sell one thing, look at the portfolio of offerings across the board, whether you have it in-house or whether you have it with Microsoft as well. So, look at Office 365 as a wraparound, or Exchange Online, Dynamics CRM, offering Windows Azure, additional services, to differentiate yourselves from your competitors as well. So anyone can do an application and go punch for punch with a commodity sale, but it's what you can offer on the side as well to have it fully integrated and offer your customers a lot more choice, which is gonna help you in the long run as well. I know if you sell, let's say if you sell Skype for Business via Microsoft, but if you sell Exchange as well, most partners will see 25% increase in profit if they add additional products, applications into their existing application they're offering at the moment as well. So there is a lot more to be offered and a lot more money to be made as well once you start offering a lot more. So, sorry, forgive me, I just skipped a good. So, utilizing the Microsoft SPLA program as well, and I'll come on to that now as well. So, if you're unfamiliar on what Microsoft SPLA is, so Microsoft SPLA is the program that pretty much, it's the primary licensing program for all hosting businesses, and it allows you as an ISV or a host, an ISV partner to become a service provider or a hoster, and you can basically offer a hosted environment for your applications and Microsoft applications on a per user per month basis. And the real benefits of this is that you can offer your customers a complete choice. You can have a hybrid environment, as I said before. You can license on-prem infrastructure, or you can license your new cloud infrastructure or Azure, and you can offer that complete hybrid choice for your customer as well. So they don't have to go fully into hosting; they can still have a bit of the on-prem licensing. With the Supplier program as well, you actually get the latest and greatest technology as well. So you get the current version and you get 2 previous versions as well. So you can always stay current as well. So you're not tied in to buying one version. So if you bought 2013, doesn't mean you have to use 2013 forever. For the following month, you can upgrade and use the 2016 versions of the product as and when it comes out in release as well. So I know that Windows Server core licensing, or Windows Server 2016 in core, is coming out soon. I think it's at the end of this quarter, so customers using 2012 R2 can actually transition to the new 2016 without actually having to commit to any capex spend. It's just right now I'm on the Supplier program, the new product comes out, I can use it as and when. As I said before, it's enterprise class cost, functionality at a fraction of the cost. So you never actually own the software. You're always going to be renting it as well. So as soon as you sign up, you guys are the licensees, and you're responsible for the software as well. So you manage that, and you can charge your customers as much you want for that solution you build out. So it's kind of a bespoke niche solution you can build out, and there's no really recommended retail price for that as well. Also, the good thing about it in terms of scalability, as you're reporting your usage each month, You don't actually have to stick to a certain amount of number of users. Understandably, if you have an opportunity or a project that goes up 1 month and then has to go back down number of users and licensing the following month, you can pretty much scale up and down as you need, as your requirements are. And also there's no startup costs as well. So once you do sign up to SPLA, there is no startup cost or cancellation fees. It's pretty much you get access to all the software. You pretty much use what you want on there, and you report your usage to us on a per user per month basis. And there's another licensing query that I cover in an advanced course. It's called licensability. So if you have software, for example, Exchange, SharePoint, Link with software assurance, you can move that into a supplier environment or a host environment, and you only pay a fraction of the cost. So you could actually get about 90 to 95% discount off those applications for the remainder of software assurance as well. So there is ways of utilizing, if you've already paid for software, you don't want to pay for it twice, but you want to go to a hosted environment. So this is ways of you guys actually saving money as well. So there's different ways we can do that, and then one of them is called licensability through software insurance. So in terms of the 5 solutions, we take these. I mean, these are the 5 pillars as they call them. Web hosting is pretty much the #1 hosted workload, which is pretty much the foundational offering for most service providers. But this is just a snapshot of what you can offer as well. So infrastructure as a service. We'll talk about how you can license a basic server in the scenarios coming at the end. But the good thing about it, more businesses are turning towards infrastructure as a service because they don't want to, pay for that cost of the hardware refresh and the servers and managing it. If you can actually rent, the same solution that they can provide from an on-prem, then it's absolutely fundamental as well. Database hosting as well. I think next wave of SQL's coming out 2016, so be ready for that because that's going to be huge as well. There's going to be a lot of improvements on the software as well. But if you've ever purchased SQL licensing, I know it goes into thousands of pounds if you're trying to license a SQL server, for 2 to 3 years. But if you buy it through a SPLA program, it goes into the hundreds of pounds in terms of renting it on a per core basis per month as well. So there is an amazing fundamental cost difference from renting it to buying it, and that's truly reflected within SQL licensing as well. Desktop hosting is desktop and application hosting wrapped around together. We can talk about Office 365. We have partners that can build up their own Office 365 or their own communication and collaboration suite as well. With you guys, I know desktop and application hosting is pretty much fundamental as well, because where you can have productivity workloads, such as Exchange and SharePoint, and then you're experiencing like some of the best performance around Windows, and then put your application on that and deliver that to your customers is an absolutely amazing route to go down, and to enhance your business value proposition as well. So System Center, I touched on it earlier. If you don't know what System Center is, I'm not surprised, because some people do try and avoid it because it's quite high level and quite intricate as well. But in a nutshell, it's pretty much a server management licensing. It offers a solution for managing data center resources and private clouds and on-prem environments as well. So System Center can help you and your customers pretty much gain kind of like a unified management console experience. So it allows for things like provisioning, for configuration of your virtual environments or your on-prem environments. You can set up automation as well, and it also has pretty much protection and self-service capabilities. Excuse me for 1 second. So as I said before, why should you use it in terms of a business? So if you're not familiar with it, what kind of benefits can you actually bring? I think from an application point of view, what it does is, it delivers pretty much, really good SLAs, very predictable SLAs actually, and also, deep insights and diagnostics towards that application as well. So if there's any issues going on with that application, or there are any stumbling blocks, or you need to push that out, you can actually manage that from a system point of view as well, and it's a single pane of glass. So so you can look at all your customers and all your applications that you're hosting on your environment, and then you can manage that from there as well. It is pretty much enterprise class features as well. So it delivers pretty much the best in class management for a data center or an on-prem environment, or from a cloud environment, or even from both as well. I know customers who use Windows Intune, which is your mobile device management software, but they also use that with System Center, so they can manage their cloud environment for their mobile devices, but they can also manage their internal network as well. And it kind of helps along all of that as well, because you have that single pane of glass where you can look into that, and that's absolutely amazing. And if you're going to pay for it, it's going to cost quite a lot from a capex point of view. But if you're going to use it on SPLA, it's relatively cheap as well, and and you still get that enterprise class feature as well. In terms of the cost effectiveness, I just said there, it's going to be fantastic for you guys to utilize that from from a rental point of view. And also, just lastly, in terms of the connected point, you can extend your capability out, with your on-prem and your cloud infrastructure as well. Also, lastly, just so you know, you can actually protect and recover your applications because it comes built in with disaster recovery and integrated backup as well. So that's all included within System Center and your infrastructure as well. So that's probably one of the most key points as well. If you have an app that fails, you can actually recover it with System Center and push that back out to your customer as well, so they have little downtime on that application. One of the things I wanted to talk about was, I don't think I put this in the agenda, but I put this in. It's purely because we do get the question on SPLA versus the ISV hosted model as well. So if you guys are already using the ISV hosted model, fantastic. But just a quick recap on the SPLA model. So as I said before, it's the SPLA is the primary license program for all hosted business models. It allows a partner to become a hoster or a service provider, and then it allows them to offer these the Microsoft stack on a per user per month basis. I wouldn't like to say pay as you go, more say pay as you provision, but it's still that recurring revenue monthly model as well. And Supplier supports a variety of hosting scenarios. You can either license your own infrastructure and deliver that as a solution to your customers. You can license end user owned infrastructure if you're managing that as well. So one of the rules is you have to be managing the server or the day-to-day management of the server as well, and then you can license that with SPLA. Just so you know, the end customers role with a SPLA hosted environment, they just consume a service, so they're not really there to do any provisioning of the infrastructure or applications, etc. They're just there to consume it as well, and you guys manage that on a daily basis. So there's different hosting scenarios, which are a lot more beneficial under the SPLA model as well. And I know with the self-hosted ISVs, maybe some of you guys are taking advantage of the this application and the use rights. Also, we have to be a qualified unified solution as well. So it's interesting to have a look at this option because, as a self-hosted ISV, you must be hosting a qualified unified solution. So that's pretty much Microsoft products with your application or line of business application. And the only products that actually fit under the ISV hosting rights is, from the top of my head, I think it's Dynamics, CRM, Exchange SQL, System Center, the System Center suite, I believe across the board, Visual Studio and Windows Server as well. So they have to have on the product use rights to be able to be allowed for self-hosted as well. So it's different from SPLA. SPLA, you have a variety of products across the board. ISV self-hosted, you have qualified products, and they have to have the SA benefit as well. So there are benefits of going for SPLA, and there are limitations on the ISV self-hosted as well. So if you are using the self-hosted, then do let me know, because it would be great to try and get you guys to understand how the SPLA model works and see if there's a benefit to utilize that as well. So in terms of the program of benefits for the Microsoft SPLA program, First, I'm just going to go over the contract. It's pretty much a simple Microsoft contract. If you've ever seen them before, you have your the MBSA, which is your overall umbrella perpetual agreement, which is basically you have to sign contracts under that as well. So you only sign that once, and then you can sign up to SPLY, and I believe Select Plus was under that as well. And then underneath that, you have the signature form and the end user enrollment form as well. So those are the main 4 contracts which you need to do to sign up to an agreement, just your SPLY agreement and your signature form. And then we send you all these electronically as well. There are addendums under the agreement where you can sign up government organisations, and you have to have GSPLA underneath your corporate, or sign up an academic or a charity, and you have to sign up education academic corporate agreement as well. So we can talk through those as well if they're the verticals you operate in, because I think from the top of the head, GSPLA is discounted 40% off corporate pricing, and academic is around about 85% off corporate pricing as well. So if you are in those verticals, take advantage of those price discounts, and then you can push out those solutions as well. So products are exactly the same, it's just different price points. In terms of the benefits, if you're going to set up a new hosted SPLY environment, the good thing about it is if it's a non-live environment, you can test and evaluate the software for up to 90 days. So make sure it's a non-production environment and non-live, and then you can test it internally before you launch it out. So you won't actually have to pay for the licensing for 90 days. And then when you do have it live and you have new customers, and you can actually offer 60-day free trials. So in effect, you can actually use the software for up to 5 months free of charge. I hate that because I want to see as much revenue coming in, but we understand from a customer perspective, if it's new to you and you want to build out the solution correctly, then you need to test and evaluate it. And also, if you need to bring on your customer base, what's better than offering 2 months worth of free licensing solution? So that's a fantastic opportunity there, guys. You guys should really be pushing on to as well and understanding. If you set up a demo environment, like a demo lab to test and evaluate, bring in customers to do any testing of your application, you can actually set up 50 users for the application, say for Windows, for Exchange SharePoint Link, for example, and test that with the application, and you can use that free of charge pretty much forever. So if it's a demo lab environment internally that you're using, you can have set up a demo environment completely free of charge. If you're not hosting yourselves, and you're actually delivering the solution from a third-party data center, but it's your SPLY licensing and it's your contract, you can actually allow for 20 administrators from that third-party data center to access your software. Oh, is that click? Yeah, so it's to access your software, and you're allowed to do that as well. So if you haven't got the infrastructure yourself, but using a third-party data center, like say Rackspace, for example, you can allow them to access your software and your infrastructure, and then to provision those licenses for you as well. And lastly, on this point, internal use licenses. So there is something called 50% use rights under the Microsoft Supplier Program. So what that means is you can only use half of what you sell. So if you sell 10 Windows Server licensing, you can only use half internally. So yeah, that's how that works in a nutshell. So you can only use half of what you sell. If you haven't sold it, then you can't use it internally, unfortunately. But you still have to pay for it regardless. So that's to stop partners just signing up and start using it and never having to buy Microsoft licensing again. So that's kind of a restriction on there as well for internal use. It's not limited, but there are some limits. There are some rules that you have to adhere to as well. So just a quick overview, as we talked about, it's there to provide software services to yourself, to your own customers. It's a 3-year agreement as well. So once you sign up, the terms of the agreement is 3 years. So as I said, well, there's no startup, there's no cancellation, but within that 3-year agreement, you can cancel anytime you want. You're not tied in for 3 years. It's not the case of you sign up, that's it, you have to start spending every month for 3 years. You can cancel anytime you want. It's the licensing are non-perpetual, so as I said before, you're renting them, you never actually own them as well. And there's no upfront commitment as well, because it's a flexible pay-as-you-go model. So as soon as you sign up, you get access to all the software, you can use it, and then you report your usage a month in arrears to us as well. So that's how that works. You get access to the latest software. As I said before, you get the current version on the VLSC, which is the Volume License Service Center, is your portal for your software media. And also available on there is 2 previous versions as well. If you have a customer that needs anything earlier, then you have to source the media yourselves, but you can use the license keys to activate it on the program as well. So that's fine. You can go back as far as you want on on most applications, but anything earlier than 2 previous versions, then you have to source the media yourselves. We've got some licensing models there as well. So we've got the SAL, the processor, and the core. I'll cover them in the next couple of slides as well, so I don't want to go too much into detail. And we did talk about, the academic discount as well, and the product downloads of the VLSC, and the contract terms as well. So that's just a quick overview of what we just covered on how the SPLA program works and what's available on it as well. I mean, does anyone have any questions at all? I mean, I've been waffling on for 31 minutes as well, and it'd be great to get a question out there. I mean, is that quite clear for everyone to understand how the SPLA program works? Oh, forgive me, we do have a question there from Lisa. If you have a normal server, you need to change it up as a SPLY license server. Do I need to reboot it? I ask because our VM's a hosted server, and of course rebooting the host server downtime for oysters. No, you won't have to reboot the server as well. If you have a normal server and you need to change it to a SPLA license server, you do have license rights on the software as well, so you don't need to update the software as well or anything like that. You just report your usage to us as well. So there's no real change on the actual software media or rebooting the server. It's just the way you're going to procure that as well. You will have to set up the actual software license key. So I don't know in terms of how the actual license keys are actually added onto the actual software as well. So the media is the same for volume licensing, and SPLA is just the activation keys. So I hope that answers your question there. Okay, so Andrew, you have a question there in terms of live environment. So basically, if it's not going out on the internet. So simply, if it's basically restricted from going out on the internet and it's not going out to any customers, if it's just a non-production, it's a non-live environment and using it internally, then you can actually utilize the test and evaluation period for up to 90 days. Fantastic. Okay, so in terms of reporting your usage, as I said before, it's done a month in arrears as well. So what we do, Grey Matter will ask for the usage reports by the 10th of the following month of usage, and then we need to report that by the 15th, the latest, to Microsoft. For the first 6 months, if you don't have any test environment and you don't have any usage at all, but you've signed up and you know this is something you want to do, you can actually report 0 usage for up to 6 months. After 6 months, the minimum you have to report is £85, and these are Microsoft's terms and conditions on the contract. These are not ours, purely because if you're not reporting after 6 months, they don't see any point in you guys being on there at all, or any customer being on there, so they will actually terminate the agreement. And if you have an end user and they're reporting more than $1,000, which is around about £685 in sterling, as they have a very strange exchange rate, then you have to do an end user enrollment and report that customer to us, to Microsoft, so they know what that customer is utilizing as well. And also the country of usage as well. As SPLY is a worldwide program, you can actually host servers across in Europe or in the States as well, and manage that remotely, and you can deliver that to customers on that country as well. So you're not just tied into the UK, and you have to put the country of usage with each usage report as well for that product. And when we do sign partners up, we do send out a welcome letter with all the details on there as well on how this works, and we have a report template which is very simple to fill out, and you can just put the product in, the SKUs, the quantities, and it and the usage country and the totals, and it just calculates the whole thing up for you as well, and you can submit that across each month to us as well, to Grey Matter, and then they can actually push that through. So it's a very simple terms reporting guidance on how that works as well. So pretty much in a nutshell, sign up a client, get the software, build the solution, get the customers, and then report your usage as well. So as I mentioned before, it's quite fundamental that the end customers don't actually go onto the environment and start spinning up VMs and utilizing the applications, and because you guys are the licensee, so their role is just to consume a service, and you guys are to manage that environment and provide those services to your customers as well. So I'm just going to quickly go into product licensing as well. So as I mentioned before, there's 3 different licensing models under the SPLA, and it's a lot more simpler than on-prem licensing. So you have the SAL-based licensing, which is basically the replacement for CALs, and these are called subscriber access licensing, and they're required, for each individual user. And when using SALs, you don't need a separate server licensing. So when you license from an on-prem, you license the server. Then you say if you're going to license Exchange, you have an Exchange server license, and then you have an Exchange user CAL, device CAL, depending on what you're utilizing. So with SPLA, there's no Exchange server license. You just license from the ground up with Windows Server, and then you license the users on the applications as well, and that's pretty much it. So it's a very simplified model in terms of what you can actually do. Also, the processor model is what Windows Server is licensing on. So this is a per processor model. And the good thing about it, there's no Windows user CALs on there as well. So once you license the Windows Server under the PROC model, this allows for unlimited users that access the software as well. And that's pretty much, in a nutshell, how you license a basic solution. So it's just license from the ground up, license the server, the processors, then license the users for each individual application you require. All this is on the price list as well, so when we do send it out, each product will tell you whether it's PROC or SAL or core model as well. And the core licensing, pretty much for SQL, I know BizTalk is on there as well, but most partners will use SQL licensing for core. And under the core licensing model, it follows the same route as the processor one. Once you license all the cores, it allows for unlimited users to access the server as well. So you'll never have to buy any SQL user SALs along with the actual core licensing as well. So depending on which one you want, use the core model, and you can have as many users on there as well. I will say SQL is the only licensing model that comes with user licensing for standard and core licensing. And we do analyze a customer's SQL environment to have a look at which one's going to be the most cost effective as well. So up to 20 users, probably the SAL-based licensing. Anything over 20 users, go for core-based licensing as well. So that's really the rule of thumb on it as well. But as you can say, the environments and the infrastructure is going to be different. So we can kind of analyze that as we come to that as well. Our real key message here is not to make you overpay for something when you can get it cheaper, more cost effective as well. So those, in a nutshell, are the 3 basic licensing models available under the SPLA program. So in terms of some of the scenarios, so Windows Server, you have 3 different models on there as well. You have the data center, the standard, and the essentials. Not a lot of people use the server essentials, so that's going to be phased out soon, if I remember correctly. But data center and standard are the same level of functionality. The only difference is that data center is designed for unlimited virtualization rights, whereas Windows Server Standard only gives you 1 VM on there as well. So it's a little bit different from on-prem as well, because I know with on-prem Windows Server you get 1 processor for 2 VMs. It doesn't work the same with standard. There's a little formula which I'll go through as well. But that's pretty much Windows Server in a nutshell for you there. The data center, unlimited VMs, and Windows Server, not unlimited VMs. Sorry, so we have a question here from David. Can you switch from SAL to core licensing as the usage increase? Yeah, I mean, if you're using, SQL SAL licensing, only if the software permits it. So SQL is the only one that can do it. But if you're using SQL Standard and you have 20 users, and the next month you have 50 users, and it's going to be more cost effective to move to the core licensing, then yes, you can actually change it. So you can, adapt, how you have that customer choice. and you can scale up as you need as well. So you're not tied into using that product for the rest of the duration of your contract. It's just done on a per month basis. So if one month you need to use core and then the following month you drop your user and then you need to use SAL, you can do that as well. So just a quick scenario on here in terms of data center versus standard licensing. As I mentioned before, when you license with Windows Server Data Center, it's done on a per processor basis, and the cost is £86 per processor. Windows Server Standard is £12.42, but when you start having virtual instances, Data Center is more costed for a higher virtualized environment because you just license the per processor. Windows Server, every time you spin up a VM, you have to relicense the processors again. So we have a rule of thumb in terms of we do processors times VMs equals the number of licenses you require for standard. So in this environment, we've done 3 basic scenarios here. We have one server, 2 processors, and 2 virtual instances on there as well. So looking at that one, we can see that Windows Server Standard is going to be more cost effective because if we need 4 licenses, because it's 2 processors times 2 VMs equals 4 standard licenses, so therefore that's the cost is £49.68 compared to Data Center, which is going to be £172 and 34 pence. So if we start spinning up more VMs, we can actually have a look at this as well. So we've added another 2 virtual instances onto that same piece of infrastructure with the same number of processors, and we can do 2 times 4. We're going to need 8 standard licenses, and therefore the cost would be £99 and 36 pence. But if you still have Data Center, it's going to be 172 because you just license the bare processors and you don't have to worry about the VMs on Data Center licensing. But when we go into 8 virtual instances on 2 processors, we can tell that we need 16 licenses. So it's 2 times 8, which is 16, and then we can see that Windows Server will cost £198 for those 16 licenses, but Windows Server Data Center will be £172 and 34 pence. So we can actually see it's going to be more cost effective going to Data Center in this scenario because you have the high number of VMs, and it kind of calculates more on standard than it would do on Windows Server Data Center. So I hope that clears up the cost effective option as well, so we can kind of analyze that on a per month or per scenario basis for you guys to make sure that you guys are utilizing the best options and the most cost effective options around the SPLA model as well. So SQL is I'm sure if you ever use SQL, you can understand it's a bit of a nightmare on that side as well. So SQL is done on a core-based licensing. So in terms of that, it's a minimum of 4 cores. So as you can see on this scenario, I have 1 server with 1 processor, and it actually has 2 cores. But the license come in 2 core packs. So what you need is 2 licenses, and it's going to cost you a minimum to license 2 cores. For £202, but then with Enterprise it's going to be £775. So I've just basically put some costings down as well. So if you had 4 cores, it would be the same price as 2 cores because you have to license a minimum of 2 cores anyway, so therefore you still need 2 licenses for either 2 cores or 4 cores. But if you go into 8 cores, you're going to need 4 licenses, which basically brings up the cost to over £404 and 48 pence. These are all done on a per core per month basis. As I mentioned before, if you actually look at the cost of a SQL Server licensing, it's going to go into the cost of thousands as well. And also with SQL Server Enterprise Core licensing, you get unlimited SQL virtual instances as well. So therefore, you can spin off as many SQL VMs as you want as well. So I do get asked the question, I just put this slide in purely because I get asked the question quite a lot in terms of how do I license SQL on a VM. Pretty much the same way as you would do on a physical box as well. So it's basically you have to find out if how many virtual virtual machines you have, and how many actual virtual CPUs are assigned to that VM as well. There's another question in case of hyper-threading switched on as well, then we can have a look at how many threads go onto it. But let's say for VM1, you have 2 virtual cores, then you're still going to need 4 SQL licensing on, 2 SQL licenses to cover 4 cores, and for VM2 it's 4 virtual cores, so you're still going to need 2 SQL licenses as you would do. But then when you go up to 6 cores, then you're going to need 3 SQL licenses, and they come in 2 core packs. So yeah, so the cost goes up. It's exactly the same as you would do for licensing physical infrastructure and physical cores. The virtual doesn't really change the rules. It's still a minimum of 4 cores on SQL Server. So I hope that hasn't confused anyone too much, because I know sometimes it does take a little bit of time to try and get your head around it. But any questions around SQL, we can always take it offline and help you guys understand how to license that most effectively. Well, I've been rambling on for 45 minutes. Do you have any questions at all? Was that quite clear? I mean, is there anything that you guys didn't understand at all or wanted to go through? Then feel free to ask away. So I can see, we have a question here from Lisa. I don't understand why MS would charge per core on SQL licensing and per CPU on Windows Server licensing. Good question. Why do Microsoft do anything that makes sense? Let's be honest. I know they changed SQL core licensing from processor to core back in 2012. I think it was going to be much more easier for them to probably increase their revenue, or to track it, as they say, the licensing model. But it is a valid point. But Windows 2012 Windows Server licensing now is going to move into core as well. So everything is going to move into core-based licensing coming on from the end of this March, April time as well. So processor licensing is going to move across, and it's going to be a bit of a transitional period from understanding how Windows Server procs to Windows Server cores is going to work. But there will be a follow-up training session on that as well as soon as we get clarification on Microsoft. But no, I can understand your frustrations on that as well. Why have one model this way and one the other way? It doesn't make sense, but it's all going to transition to a core-based model soon. So in terms of yeah, guys, you will get a copy of the presentation. Not a problem at all. Thank you, David. Just messaging you and letting you guys know that will go forward. So Lisa, you had a question on there. So what would that do for our reporting? So if you sign up, so if you sign up now, you can still license the solution under a processor model. We can tell you, from my understanding, that one processor cost of license is going to be the same as 8 cores on a Windows server. So it may end up being more cost effective for some customers, and it may end up being more expensive as well. So we'll probably analyze each customer's environment as and when we come to it. And don't get me wrong, there's going to be probably a bit of a backlash from partners because they don't want to pay more, and the ones that won't say anything are the ones that are going to get more of a discount on their software. So it's kind of going to work both ways. It's going to be better for some and worse for the others. So in terms of the solution you're offering, so yeah, I've spoken to Microsoft about this one. How is it going to work? So you'll have to, your 3-year agreement will allow you to report the software, but if the actual version changes, if the licensing model changes, then you have to basically change around to the new model as well. The only time where you can still keep the same software is if the product goes end of life. So within a 3-year software agreement, if you have a product that you're using and that goes end of life halfway through your 3-year agreement, you can still continue to report that to the end of your agreement. But if the actual product changes during your agreement, then you have to adhere to the new licensing model change, unfortunately. So in a nutshell, yeah, you will be forced to use it, unfortunately. So I think call to action probably any questions that you have, ping them back to David and Sally to the team. Also, if you're looking to sign up to the SPLA program, then we can send you some information on how to get started, some user guides as well, also attached with this presentation. But if you are having offering application hosting on an on-prem environment, I would definitely look about us giving you a SPLA comparative quote to see if it's going to be more cost effective and a lot more interesting to understand if that's going to be beneficial to you guys as well. So contact us, let us know, and we'll contact you as well to find out exactly what you're offering and see if we can actually increase your revenue stream via a SPLA model as well. Are there any more questions at all? Okay, so Graham, you've asked a question on remote desktop licensing on Azure per user per month. So our remote desktop, you can use two options there. You can have remote desktop cows with software assurance, which will allow you to use in Azure for the remainder of software assurance, or instead of forking out for the on-prem cows, you can use the remote desktop licensing from SPLA as well, which is done on a per user per month basis as well. In terms of the costings, if I remember the top of my head, you're talking over £150 for remote desktop on software on-prem per user, and you have the software for 2 years. Software assurance, sorry, is 2 years, but then with SPLA, it's around about £3.54 per user per month. So there is a massive cost difference in renting it than owning it, but you can utilize the SPLA on Azure as well. So can I ask, is anyone utilizing the self-hosted rights for ISVs? I'll take that as a no, but basically, in terms, sorry, Tony, you're asking the self-hosted rights. So that's the other model in which ISVs can take advantage of Microsoft software with certain use rights on there as well. So basically, you have to have qualified products. With an example with Dynamics, CRM, Exchange, and SQL, and you have to have software assurance on there as well. And then you can host them to your customers as well. So you can host them internally because traditional volume licensing doesn't allow for hosting. But with the hosting rights, you can deliver that to your customers on a hosted environment. But they also have SPLA, which is your complete hosted solution as well. So, okay, so Lisa, you said that you're doing that. That's fantastic. So it'd be good for us to understand, the cost benefits on that as well, and us to compare that to a SPLA environment to see what would be more beneficial as well, because there are some limitations towards, what you can do on the ISV hosting rights. You have to have the right software, and it has to be from the volume licensing program, and they have to be eligible for hosting rights as well. So, and it has to be your own internal infrastructure as well. Whereas SPLA, you can deliver the same hosted SharePoint, SQL, Exchange application on your environment, on the customer's environment, on a third-party data center, and you can manage that from anywhere as well. So it's a lot more flexible doing it through SPLA than going through the ISV hosting rights. So in terms of that, I mean, I'm sure we can take that offline to discuss some of the concerns you have around that, because it'd be quite interesting, and to see what other areas you want to focus on as well. So in terms of the benefits of the SPLA program, do you see that being something you guys could utilize in terms of hosting your applications? Or is there a lot of customer demand for you to host your applications? That's probably another question as well, because I know you guys jumped on, and that's perfect. So if there is a lot of demand, then looking at SPLA and how this can be delivered, then that'll be fundamental as well. So just so you were, the ISVs jumping onto SPLA is absolutely massive at the moment. So if you're not already doing it, then jump on board this and let us get you set up on the agreement as soon as possible. Because as I said before, even though it's a 3-year agreement, you're not tied in. You can cancel anytime you want. You can dip your toe in the water to see if it works, and you can test and evaluate the software for free for up to 90 days, and you can build that out. And there's nothing stopping you from testing it, and then if you didn't like it, completely cancel it as well. So it's always good to know there's free software available, to enhance your own value proposition. So Lisa, you mentioned that you've got a yep, okay, so you've got a solution there, sorry, demand there for host servers, software. Okay, so we could probably look to giving you, a hosted data center solution on there as well. So you can spin up unlimited VMs as well, and then you can run your applications. And the good thing about the SPLA licensing is it's designed for a multi-tenant environment, so you can have one big machine or multiple machines with multiple end customers on there as well. So you're not restricted with the ISV hosting rights or even on-prem licensing, where it has to be dedicated to that one end customer as well. Oh, fantastic, Lisa. You already got the paperwork sorted. So for the rest of you, if you haven't had any information on how to set up and how to sign up, I'm sure Sally and David and Andrew will send them across. Post on this with the slide, so you guys can understand how simple it is to get on board on this as well. So if you would like that, request it, then please send us a request, but we'll also send that out to you guys as well. Perfect. So is there any more questions that I can help with at all while you got me online? Okay, so Lisa, you have a question on the 50% usage, right? So yeah, that's for internal use. So you can use SPLA internally for your own, in-house operations, but you can only use the products that you sell, and you can only use half of them, and that's restricted to stop partners signing up and just never selling anything to their customers and just using it internally. So if you sell 10 Office licenses across the board to all your customers, and then you can only use 5 internally. So that's a restriction on the internal use rights. You can only use what you sell, and you can only use half of it, but you still have to pay for it though. That's what the downside is. Right, I think that's pretty much all the questions that's going to be asked at the moment. So I just want to thank you for your time today. And if you have any feedback for myself and for the team, then please do let us know. And any queries and questions that you have, we can take them offline, and we can contact you directly on there as well. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate that.